What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. So I want to do something a little bit different in this one. I've been thinking about meditation and the definition of meditation. And the more you look into it, the more definitions you'll come across. And interestingly enough, they all are brilliant, thoughtful, insightful, and somehow, some way, they all seem to lead to a very similar destination. But I thought it was worth exploring because when you start to get this understanding for yourself and you start looking for something that is definitive regarding the definition of meditation, it'll be very hard for you, or at least it's very hard for me, to look at something and say, yeah, this is it. This, to me, sums up the totality of what I believe meditation is. And there's just so many benefits to be gained from this practice. Some being extremely practical, maybe an opportunity to relax and de-stress a little bit, get a little bit of quiet time to yourself, to things that are almost supernatural in nature. And while I personally like to focus on the more practical elements, I think it helps me be grounded in what it is that I want to get from this practice. I think it's also very relatable when you're speaking to other people and you're sharing how meditation has helped you. But I've read many different books, many biographies of very well-known meditators, and when they speak about a connection to the universe, an understanding of who they are beyond this body, who they are beyond this idea of birth and death, it's almost impossible to dismiss. These are people who have so many followers. These are people who express and articulate their experience so well that you just have to start realizing that this is just a very vast philosophy, and there's many things that we could gain from it. So I thought I would just start naming the different definitions of meditation that I come across, because I believe eventually it will start to form this tapestry of what meditation actually is. It's a puzzle of many different pieces that come together to form something that is made to enhance all of us, no matter what our religious background is, no matter our nationality, our race. It's a wonderful tool that's meant for any person. And so with that said, when I started looking, the first definition of meditation that I came across is by somebody named Osho. If you're not familiar with Osho, he is a well-renowned spiritual leader. He's written many books, but he is also extremely notorious. As a matter of fact, there is a Netflix documentary about him and his followers and how they tried to essentially take over the small town. It's really a bizarre, otherworldly, and ultimately entertaining story, but many people also get hurt in that story as well. But my philosophy is I always like to follow the logic. I don't necessarily like to follow the person. People will let you down every time, but I believe wisdom and logic is going to carry through, and that a person is always just the vessel for that. If somebody who I thought was a horrible person told me that 1 + 1 = 2, or it's important for you to work out and take care of yourself, it's important to love your family. It's important to be intelligent with your finances. I never want to be so emotional about who is saying it to the point that I dismiss what I'm hearing from that person. I don't want to say, hey, wait a second, you're saying that I should eat healthy and you just got exposed as committing a violent act. I don't think that is really the mindset that we should ever be going down, because unfortunately 90% of the people that we follow, 90% of the people that we admire, 99% of these people will eventually, I don't want to say let you down, but if you're waving the stick of judgment and criticism, then you're definitely going to find something there, because we're all human beings and they are all human beings. And I don't think you are living this human experience without making mistakes and without essentially being flawed. But anyways, with that said, Osho does have a definition of meditation, which he describes as the understanding that we're not our mind and spending time with our center. The reason this resonated with me so strongly, that it was the first thing that I knew I wanted to speak about, is because I personally found just that philosophy alone to be incredibly transformative in my own life. Just knowing that when we are constantly being inundated with thoughts throughout the day, we don't have to be overly attached to what our mind is telling us, because our mind is no different than our phone that has our apps consistently running in the background no matter what's going on. That's what our mind is doing, and it's extremely active. It will throw out thinking that is on both sides of the fence. It'll throw out thinking that seems to be in your favor, and the next thought will seem to be something that will be to your detriment. So today it'll say that you love this person, and tomorrow it'll say, you know what, I don't think I really love this person. I didn't like something that I saw. It will tell you that you should have all the confidence in the world for who you are and what you're doing. And then the next they'll say, hey, be careful. I don't think those people really want to hear from you. I don't think you're really prepared for what it is that you're trying to take on. I don't think you're good enough. And if you are really believing that who you are these thoughts, which I think many people do without this understanding, then you're constantly on this roller coaster. Just based on what I said, you're going to be thinking, I'm good enough. I'm not good enough. I got this. I don't got this. I love her. I love her not. But when you know that you're obviously the observer of these thoughts, because you're aware of them and you're seeing how they're coming from many different perspectives, then you know that you are something that is deeper, something that is beyond that. And you could have a sense of relief that you don't have to overly identify with these things that are going on. You can know that they're just going to pass and the next thing is going to happen, because these things could really be to our detriment when we get a thought, and instead of just understanding this is how the mind works, this is the process, we grab onto it and we say, wait a second, what is that thought? Why is that happening? Let me learn more about it. So if something is fleeting, I don't like this person, and you immediately grab it and you start to analyze it and tinker with it and look at it from different perspectives, it makes that initial thought something that grows and fester. What we give our attention to is what's going to expand. So this is how an initial thought of maybe I don't like that person, after holding on to it for one day or 1 week or 1 month, may turn into I absolutely hate this person. And it shouldn't have gotten to that point, especially when it's just one of these casual things. It should have come and went just like anything else. And so when you have that understanding, it just brings you a sense of freedom, I believe, that you don't otherwise have. You don't have to be a slave to something that is entirely out of your control. Many people think meditation is this process of controlling your mind, but it's not, because we cannot be in control of our minds. If we could, we would all never be bothered by an unflattering thought. And from my understanding, from my studying, again, of many different meditators, as well as sharing my own personal experience, no one has ever claimed to control their thoughts. At the very most, it's just this understanding of finding peace with the thoughts that you are having, and understanding that these things don't have to be actionable. Chris Rock has a joke in one of his stand-ups, one of his older ones, when Chris Rock was like the comedian in the United States. I'm old enough to remember when he was on the cover of every single magazine. He was definitely that guy. I think he was bigger than Dave Chappelle is now, as far as the celebrity that was attached to him back then. But anyways, he has a joke where he says, "It's okay to think about it, just don't do it." He said, sometimes you may look at an old man and you may want to kick him down a flight of stairs, but just don't do it. And I don't know if I've thought about kicking an old man down a flight of stairs, but regardless, we all have things that aren't politically correct that happen in our mind. Again, this is part of our human experience. None of us are perfect, but it's totally different than acting on some of these whimsical things that just so happen to be thrown out there by the mind. So knowing that you are the observer of your thoughts, I think, is very important, because when you learn that it will pass, there's a saying, the next bus is coming. I think that's what it is. And we can look at our thoughts the same way. If something comes through our mind that isn't flattering, if it isn't flattering for us, hey, I know you have a business meeting, you should be nervous. You just observe it, let it pass. The next thought is coming. The next thought may be another negative thought. Hey, are you prepared? Are you dressed properly? Let that pass too. And the positive thought is always coming. You don't know exactly when it's going to come, but positive, negative, they're just constantly flowing through us. If your mind is telling you, hey, I'm upset with this person, I don't like this person, don't be attached to it. Just let it pass. Your mind will throw out a reason why you love that person. Your mind will remind you that you're old friends. Your mind may remind you how funny this person is. And here's the kicker, don't get overly attached to the positive either. It's great. It energizes us better, obviously, than something negative. But again, we're learning that we're the center. We're learning that we are beyond our thoughts, and we're understanding that awareness. And so through meditation, it's a great way to strengthen that muscle. It's a great way to strengthen this period of time where you're not inundated with these thoughts and you're at that peaceful place that's in between. They compare it a lot to clouds in the sky. The clouds are your thoughts. They're constantly coming and going. And the sky is essentially who we are. It's that sense of peace, it's that sense of calmness, and it's that sense of consistency. Obviously, anybody who would be looking at the clouds in the sky and thinking that they're all the exact same thing and they all are just, belong together in that sort of sense with no distinction, you may laugh and think that's funny. That's something that a child may say. And we're no different. If we're thinking that who we are is completely identifiable with our thoughts as part of that picture, then that may represent a little bit of a lack of understanding. And meditation, I believe, is one of our greatest processes towards knowledge of self. So that is the first definition that I wanted to share with you guys. If you have a different opinion of what meditation is, or a definition that personally resonates with you, I'd like to hear it. So share it below, and I'll talk to you next time.